Minnesota Vikings have released their first unofficial depth chart officially. Now, these really don't matter. They're required by the league before the first preseason game. And players playing in preseason games or practice drills, they do not necessarily adhere to these. So it's sort of whatever. But, of course, fans and media are just craving for some football stuff. We lap it up. So running through and seeing who is where. So Kirk Cousins is the starter. Shocker. Now, QB2, they listed Kellen Mond or Sean Mannion as the primary backup. So they got co-regional managers of the QB2 position. Running backs, what you expected, Dalvin, Madison, Kinkenny, Ty Chandler, as well as Brian Koback, understood. Fullback, Hammond Vargas. Two wide receivers, so two stars. You got Thielen and Jefferson. KJ as wide receiver 3 and ISM as wide receiver 4. That does make sense. And then you got BC and Myra Mitchell as third-team receivers. Again, only 2 receivers per team in this format. Then you got Tristan Jackson or Jalen Naylor and Dan Chisena. Then you got Burt Wilson, Thomas Hennigan, and Blake Prohl. Prohl is on the PUP list currently. So that's basically the pecking order where the wide receivers have been in. Maybe you do a little swapping with BC or Mitchell or Jackson or Naylor in terms of who goes where, who's going to be with the 2s, who's going to be with the 3s in preseason, or the order in terms of what they do wide receiver drills in. It's whatever. Tight ends. Irv still listed up at the top. Johnny Munt, tight end 2. Ellefson, tight end 3. Davidson, tight end 4. Now, this isn't an aspersion on Davidson necessarily. You have seen Munt working with the 1s, Ellefson working with the 2s, mainly because Zach Davidson, he isn't really a tight end. He's really a large wide receiver. So I do think that Munt and Ellefson are more traditional inline tight ends. That's why they're getting the nod there. Then tackles, 2 starters, Darisaw and O'Neal. Second team tackles are Brandel at left, Oli Udo at right, and then Vidarian Lowe and Timon Paris. Now, they've flip-flopped back and forth. They've both gotten work at left and right. Interior offensive linemen, Ezra, Bradbury, Jesse Davis. Now, here's where it gets interesting because Chris Reed listed as the second team left guard, even though he's primarily been working at second team center. Schlattman listed at center, even though he's been primarily working at second team left guard. Of course, Ed Ingram at right guard, and then third team it has been Hinton, Sokol, as well as Wyatt Davis not getting above third team. Now, I think the Reed and Schlattman thing, that's sort of whatever. They've been flip-flopping back and forth. It's nice that both of them have center and guard flexibility. I don't read too much into it there. Defense. So remember, 3-4 this year. The 2 5-tech starting defensive ends, Diesel, Dalvin, Armont for Watts. That's been standard. Second team, Jonathan Bullard, James Lynch, Twyman, and the rookie Usezo Demehu, as well as Julian Taylor bringing up the rear on the unofficial depth chart. Nose tackle wise, you got Harrison Phillips, TJ Smith, T.Y. McGill, as well as the UDFA Tyree Stevenson. Outside linebackers, you got Daniil and Zadarius. Primary backups are Patrick Jones second and DJ Wanham. Now, interesting that they list Patrick Jones second first over DJ, but not really. Third team, Luigi Villain, Janaris Robinson, Andre Mincy, and Zach McLeod. Now, McLeod listed as last is interesting since he's really shined so far at training camp. He's been working a lot with the 2s, some with the 3s. So, again, I don't put a whole lot of stock into that. Inside linebackers. Kendricks and Hicks, yes. Troy Dye, yes, as well as Asamoah, yes. And then third team, we got Surratt Blake Lynch, and then Ryan Connolly is on the PUP. And then we got the UDFA tryout, William Quanku, bringing up the rear. Cornerback, starters on the outside, you got Peterson and Dantzler. And again, these unofficial depth charts don't take into account who's in the slot, who's not, whatever. You just have 2 cornerbacks, which is kind of dumb. But Peterson, Dantzler, then Shondon, who's been working on the slot. Then you got Booth, you got Chris Boyd and Caleb Evans. That does make sense. I think those are going to be your 6 that make the roster. And they got the veterans Perry Nickerson, Harrison Hand, 38 special, as well as Nate Harrison and Ty Smith, safety. So Harrison Smith and Cameron Bynum listed as starters, which holds true to what we've seen at training camp so far. And they got Lewisine and Metellus, and then Dorn and Brown bringing up the rear. And then, of course, you got specialists, Joseph, Barry, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Ryan Wright's not going to make it, blah, blah. Then kick returners, you got Kinkenny, and then backup Osborne and Chandler. And then punt returners, you got ISM as a starter, as well as Naylor as a backup currently. Now, I think it's a dead heat. I think it's a big-time competition between ISM and Naylor. Now, Burt Wilson and KJ Osborne have been getting some punt return reps, except I don't think they're going to be a factor. I think this is going to come down to ISM and Jalen Naylor. Big Ten showdown in preseason to see see who's going to secure that punt return job. And frankly, if ISM becomes a more integral part of the offense, I'm fine having Naylor be the punt returner. Plus, given that Naylor actually has experience returning punts as opposed to ISM, who probably hasn't returned a punt since high school. Like 0 in the NFL, 0 at Iowa. Be perfectly fine with that. But that's it. That's a look at the Vikings' first unofficial, officially depth chart. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But to next time, Skol, production value.